Hey everyone, Rob Orgel with Spartan Armor Systems. In today's video, we're going to look at vehicle setup. Now, what we're pulling from is some experiences from overseas and cross-loading in vehicle setup. Now, applying some of the lessons learned from overseas into our personal vehicle, we're going to focus on tactical situations, most likely situations, and then of course the zombie apocalypse. Now, my vehicle is a little bit over the top, but let's take that as the baseline and then see how you can apply it to your vehicle. All right, so like I said before, take a look at our vehicle and its proper setup. So a lot of people like to start with the sexy gunfight zombie emergency thing. Just like in training, I want to start with what's most realistic, what's most hazardous in those realistic situations, and then of course, let's get to the zombie stuff. So let's start with the common question of what about when I get pulled over? So if a police officer is pulling me over, then leaning over to reach in the glove box could be concerning to him. He might think I'm going for a firearm or something like that. So what I prefer to do is to keep my paperwork in the visor. And this way it's very accessible and I don't have to lean over and potentially confuse that situation. So visor is a good spot for those roadside stop type situations. In addition to that, there's a handful of other administrative items I like to keep here for jotting down notes, etc. So that's that emergency situation. Stay cool, calm, collected, not reaching across the car, not digging through things, as most people tend to do, because when was the last time we checked to make sure we had license and registrations? Here it is. Next, diving into a little bit more of the likely but not life-threatening, and that is the items I like to keep down by my leg. And there's an extra magazine, of course, there's my backup flashlight, and then there's a Leatherman. And those can cover a lot of the needs that I might have when I'm doing day-to-day operations in or outside of the vehicle. The extra magazine, of course, that leans a little bit more towards that zombie situation. So here you can see by my foot some administrative items I like to have close by. As mentioned before, there's the flashlight, there's the extra magazine for my carry gun, and there's a Leatherman that can cover most of my needs. Now, in addition to that, you'll see an administrative pouch. And in my administrative pouch, you'll find a microfiber cloth. And this I use very often to clean my sunglasses as I'm driving about the day or preparing for my next range. Again, starting with things that are most practical and moving into could-be's. Next is inside my center console. So aftermarket parts in your vehicle can be a force multiplier. Personally, I put a vault inside my center console. One, this protects me legally, that I can lock things up and they're out of reach, not so accessible, and they would take a warrant to gain access to. Also, it allows me to leave what I like to call my backup wallet inside my center console. Now, my backup wallet, which I'll show you momentarily, that contains $50, which is enough money for me to get, well, these days, a half a tank of gas, fill up my human tank with food energy, and then also a copy of my CCW and my driver's license. In a lot of states, this doesn't meet the criteria of what you should have in a traffic stop. However, it's better than nothing. So I like to call that my backup wallet, and I keep it locked up here. Also, sometimes when we go to places where we're not allowed to bring a gun, I like to lock up my firearm. Leaving it in the glove box, even though the glove box does a sort of lock, is not something I enjoy doing. So I'll lock up my firearm and I'll make sure that my emergency or my backup wallet has its $50. Next, as we start leaning a little bit more towards that zombie situation, we all start going the extra magazines, extra carbines, all that craziness, which is possible, but something a little bit more likely that we encounter pretty frequently is traffic accidents. If there's a traffic accident in your presence, you could be the first responder. You could help sustain life if you're trained and you have the tools to do so. Behind my headrest, I like to keep a med kit, and the med kit I prefer is the AFAC. This is going to cover all of the needs that I would have in a traffic emergency or a gunshot wound. Now, you can find those on the Spartan Armor website as well as the Victos. This backpack is designed to take a panel with inside. So now when I go to the grocery store or the gym and I throw this on my back, I've got body armor built in behind me, and I can always swing that around to my front. This bag that sits in the front seat is a little bit more of my administrative. It's everything I need for the day. This is going to cover my snacks, my notepad, any gear that's going to be organic to me. You'll find in my vehicle that very often I like keeping things contained in a bag, because some hard lessons we learned overseas is that when you have a disabled vehicle and you need to cross-load your equipment, the more time you spend picking little pieces out of spaces, the more time you're not on the road moving. So the more you can condense things down into bags, specifically special purpose bags, meaning my administrative bags, and then some other bags I'm going to show you in the back of my vehicle, this allows me to pull the right piece of equipment or the right package of equipment for the needs of that mission. So moving out of the driver's seat, now we're standing behind the driver's seat. And what we can see is, in order of priorities, I've got the med kit that I mentioned before. This is the Spartan Armor AFAC. Now, it comes with Velcro so that I can attach it to the back of my headrest and pull it out even from this front seat in that emergency type situation. Now, in addition to med kits, if you've watched our tactical medicine video, you'll see that multiple tourniquets is really a good option. So I like having additional tourniquets close by to my med kits because there are plenty of scenarios where I just need a tourniquet and there are plenty of scenarios where I need extra tourniquets. So I like leaving that guy here. Next, of course, I've got the zombie rack for what could happen, and that's some extra rifle magazines, extra pistol magazines, and of course, being a nut job for flashlights, it includes an extra flashlight. Moving south of that, you'll find 2 body armor kits. The first one is the emergency response kit. Now, I like this kit for the vehicle because it's very low profile. It doesn't take up a whole bunch of space in my car, and I can don it very quickly. Next, you'll see the DL plate carrier, and inside of that, you'll find the level 3 alpha plates. Now, these are soft body armor, and that means I can wear it underneath something I might be blending in inside of. Whereas that larger kit is very much so zombie type situation or range situation. Now, I'm storing them directly behind the driver's seat. This way, if there's any possibility of taking fire from the rear, this is going to do its best to stop those rounds from finding me, ricocheting off floorboards or any other sort of thing. Certainly there are some other considerations and places you could put that kit, but gaining access to it quickly is also an important consideration. So this is the black multicam Victus bag, one of the Victus bags. And in a previous blog, we talk about what items I like to keep inside of that bag. For the sake of time, if you're interested, check out that blog. Moving on, you'll see I've got a bag behind that. Now the bag behind that is also a Victus bag. However, this one is all black. The reason this one is all black is because it's my hotel bag. So this is going to contain all of my hygiene items, overnight gear, extra sets of toothbrush, toothpaste, and all the good stuff I might need for an overnight trip, whether I knew it was going to be an overnight trip or not. Now, as I pull that bag out and enter the hotel, I like to be as clandestine as possible, and that's why you'll find it's in the all black color. So up front, you'll notice that I carry a water bottle because I live on the shooting range, and I drink a lot of water. In the back seat, sandwiched between the bags, not so accessible because it doesn't need to be all that accessible, is my extra water. Now, it's a good idea to keep it inside of a device that's meant to take the abuse. Sometimes plastic water bottles can degrade, particularly if you live in the Arizona heat. Inside your vehicle, as that plastic degrades, you can ingest some of that. And scientists tell us that's not good for us, so believe that or not, maybe we should consider that. I do occasionally throw water bottles in the back of my car, as well as protein shakes, but for a limited period of time. If you leave those in there too long, health concerns, so make good choices. So again, in the order of precedence and real world versus pretend world, zombies. If zombies attack, yes, it's a good idea to have your carbine close by. Now this comes with some pros and cons. So the first thing is I don't want people to know that I have a carbine. Secondly, I don't want to leave it unlocked. So if you're like me and you have a truck fault in your car, then by all means, if it's legal in your state, have your carbine close by. And when you leave your truck to go watch a movie in the movie theater, then lock that carbine up so that nobody can inadvertently access that weapon. So where I keep my carbine is either in the back seat or in the passenger seat of my vehicle. In the back seat, I've got much greater tint. This allows it to be a little bit more unbeknownst. If I put it in the passenger seat, then I throw a raincoat over it. And to gain access to my carbine, all I have to do is unzip. Factor back up. And again, a lot of the time, passenger seat is a great option if I'm close by to my vehicle, but the back seat doesn't hurt. And again, clandestine with the raincoat. And also it doubles as having a raincoat when it rains. All right, so here you're gonna find some redundancy, and this is an additional med kit. Now, the med kit behind my headrest is a gunfight or traffic emergency situation. This is going to cover the tools that I predict would be necessary in those circumstances. This is a much more advanced medical kit, and this is me breaking down some toys from the Spartan Armor kits and placing it into what I find most appropriate for my life. And this is going to include tweezers and tape and duct tape, and the list goes on into the things that are organic in my life as I'm on the range day to day, or as I'm out on a hike and I kick a piece of cholla and it sticks in my foot. So you're limited to your own imagination in your med kits. but it's like a camping trip. Take that first camping trip, pack everything you own, and on the second camping trip, less, and on the third trip, a little bit more, until you hone in exactly what your needs are. Again, you don't have to carry this, it stays in the vehicle. So it never hurts to have extra equipment. So this is my larger medical kit that stays in the back of my vehicle. Now, you're gonna find a lot of instructor gear that I leave in here day to day because my life exists on the range. So I've got some favorite flavors of ammo, I've got tools that I or clients need during range operations, measuring devices, and multiple tripods. The important part to this is the modularity of this system that I've really come to like. And what that is I get these racks that hold a different size ammo cans, and then I can prepare different ammo cans for different jobs. So when I'm coming to a precision shoot or teaching a close quarters class, I know the equipment organic to those days, and I can just rotate out those ammo cans. This is much like the backpack concept we talked about earlier. So if I pop the lid to my vehicle because there's vehicle trouble and I need to cross load, I can choose 9mm ammo and 6mm Creedmoor ammo needs to not stay in my car. The tripods need to not stay in my car because those are particularly expensive. Tools for the range, not important. Swag that has my logo on it, I can leave roadside if that time comes. So this just helps me quickly identify what it is I need and get to it quickly, as well as prepare for each day. And the last added benefit is, as I've dumbed it down for myself to make it as simple as possible for my emergency or range operations, when I tell my buddy, hey, run to my car and grab my tool ammo can, he can find that very quickly because it's very obviously labeled. Simplicity makes success in a lot of these stressful environments. All right, so next up, as I mentioned, locking up your carbine. If you do travel with a carbine, it's a great idea to keep it locked up when you're away from your vehicle. So I use a truck vault system. This allows me to secure my rifle in the back of my vehicle and then lock it up. Now, personally, I still don't like to go to the movie theater with my vehicle. If it's movie theater time, I prefer to take the wife's car just because I don't like leaving things like this outside the theater that I can't keep eyes on. So even when I'm locked up in my truck vault, I still prefer to sit at a restaurant where I can observe my car. But again, that's just personal preference. Next, if I'm at the back of my vehicle, it could be because I'm grabbing my carbine for a range op, or it could be I'm grabbing my carbine for an emergency if the one in the front seat wasn't there or any number of things took place. In which case, I have another med kit to the rear of the vehicle. And this is yet another Spartan Armor AFAC. Now you'll notice an additional one inside my range bag. Again, because this is what I do every day, grabbing my range bag and having everything organic to all ranges takes place in this bag. Again, coming back to that crazy concept of mine, make it easy on yourself for cross load and make it easy to identify the gear you need so you can get to work. On this side of the truck vault, I've got a little bit more of an administrative type section, and that's going to carry extra suppressors, pistols, pistol belts, and there's also a tourniquet on my belt. The reason there's a tourniquet on my pistol belt is because if I'm on the range conducting pistol operations or training people on pistol, there's a higher likelihood that a pistol gunshot wound could take place. Therefore, it's a good idea to have a tourniquet on the firing line. So not only is there tourniquets in my range bag, there's tourniquets in my vehicle, but there's one on my persons during live fire operations. It's a good habit to have. If you need it and it's an emergency, have it close by. Wrapping up today's video, we got a glimpse at my vehicle and its over-the-top setup. Now, while this may not necessarily apply to you because you might not be on the range every single day, hopefully you saw some tidbits that you can apply to your vehicle. Whether it's the simplistic 3-bag technique or keeping your insurance tucked into the shade device of your vehicle, refine these devices so that when you come upon that emergency situation, not only are you ready for it, but your vehicle is ready as well. In the comments below, tell me your favorite mission essential gear that you keep in your vehicle. To find some of the products you saw in today's video, check out SpartanArmorSystems.com.